I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is
On this
that is a
sad
sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha PAX, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Shout out to our sponsors. Major Team Mortgage, Omaha Laser Dentistry, Exclusively Eye Care, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avier Wealth Management, and Apex Men's Clinic. We appreciate their support.
Liberty Core Real Estate is your homegrown real estate broker. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, whether personal or investment, Armando, aka Brian, and Megan Michaels' company is ready to serve you. With Command Center in Old Town Elkhorn and agents all throughout the metro, they are more than ready to guide and serve you in your next real estate endeavor. Whether your next move needs to happen now or in 5 years, call or text Armando at 402-770-2165 to get your questions answered. And a special offer for F3 Nation PAX members, Liberty Core will donate $250 to your sponsor of choosing for every closed transaction. Stop looking, start finding today with Liberty Core Real Estate.
Now let's get back to the gloom.
And we're back. Another really exciting interview with a really great leader in F3 Omaha. I know I've spent some time with this guy in the gloom, just talking about life. He's helped me assess my property for potential alternate energy options, which there are none unless I tap into the Elkhorn River. And also have just recently, I think, been just really encouraged by his vulnerability to share challenges in life and family and all that sort of stuff. So Greenhouse, man, it's good to see you. And where we like to start off is just from the beginning, kind of the EH story, and then the first workout, which I think is a good story from you. And then also, how'd you get the name Greenhouse?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Plague. Excited to be on and share my story, and always appreciate you and Pony getting all the other stories from the PAX in Omaha. I always enjoy catching up on those. First posting, so and let me say first off that I know T Swift has gone before me, and T Swift is my former co-site Q at Wolf Den. So I want to go ahead and be on the record to refute anything that he said derogatory towards myself or others. So just want to get that out as a disclaimer. But so first post, T Swift and Hey and I go way back, all the way to the preschool days, finger painting and such. So, I moved back to Omaha from Kansas City in 2018. And T Swift was, he was the best man at my wedding, and Hey, we've all been great friends, but I think moving back, certainly ramped that up. With kids and everything, it's harder to keep in touch. So, especially when you're out of town, but moving back, we live all, within a mile of one another. So, we're also close. So, that certainly helped our relationship. And I think we saw a news article. I think someone else saw something on social media about F3. We kind of just, got a few hints or hits on it, and we're like, hey, what is this thing? And frankly, I don't know what both of them were doing for fitness. I'm sure T Swift would probably say not a lot at times. He has done half marathons, and he's done some running, in spells, but I think it goes in cycles for him. And Hey, he's done some CrossFit and other stuff in the past. So I can't remember if he was doing that at the time. And myself, I was kind of all over the board. During COVID, we got a Peloton, jumped on that trend pretty early. So we beat some of the price rush. But until then, I hardly ever worked out in the morning. So I think that was an obstacle for me initially was the early morning, as it is with a lot of PAX. But so we heard about it. We, started searching around on Twitter, found out there was a workout, and, to the early morning thing. I saw that on July 3rd, I think it was a Saturday that year, there was a 1776 beatdown. It was at 7 a.m. Didn't know what a 1776
Nice.
beatdown was. Just knew that there was one at 7 a.m. I was like, oh, this is great. I can sleep in a little bit around the 4th of July, you know, because you don't get a lot of sleep anyways. And so we said, yeah, let's do it. And so we just showed up at Aldridge. It was at Aldridge at the time, even though I think that was technically Oracle, because it was relocated. So we showed up, and you know, three FNGs as we found out, and didn't really know a soul there. But the 6 a.m. guys were going, and I remember T Swift and I both played college soccer, and he played at Hastings with some other guys. And I remember seeing Sasquatch and Smash Mouth were both doing the 6 a.m., both out there crushing it. We're like, oh, okay. All right, we know those guys. T Swift knew those guys better than I did, but both knew them from playing soccer. And then, you know, of course, later on we find out some other connections there. Tater Tot, in fact, had worked with my brother-in-law. So we made that connection fairly soon after. But, you know, we got the laughs and the high fives of like, oh, you guys are here for the 1776 first workout. And, you know, just like this weekend, it was hot and it was humid. I mean, it was brutal. So, you know, it's a hard workout to begin with. But, you know, that really taxes you, especially at the end with the bear crawls and the burpees. I mean, I was in decent shape, for sure. But I think I remember, hey, like he couldn't talk for about 10 minutes. He was just trying to survive after the end. But, you know, we're all just drenched in sweat, and we're like, oh man, that was a butt kicker. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. You know, we were kind of operating in small groups, so we got a little camaraderie there with some of the other guys. I think I remember wait time. I remember, or not wait time, room service. There were a couple kids there, a couple 2.0s were there. Samples was in our group, I think. So remember a lot of that. I think wait time or room service was on the queue that day. So you know, didn't really understand who was leading or why or what. But he was doing a good job. And I do remember COT, and I remember prayer, and just being impressed, you know, by it, you know, and haven't been a part of too many things like that in recent memory. So that certainly left an impact on me, and enjoyed that, you know, amidst our sweating and our, you know, just trying to hang in there, you know, remember that sticking with me. So that was cool. And then I don't know if I was the last to get named of us three. I might have been. But I was like, well, they got T Swift and Hey. So I'm like, you know, what's mine going to be? But T Swift brought that on himself, and Hey wasn't a bad one. You know, they both have no issues with their names. But I remember, I think there was the question of, you know, what do you do? And at the time, I'm still with HDR, but I was a renewable energy project manager, you know, as you alluded to. So there were a few names thrown out. I think the question also came up of, you know, what do you do for fun or hobbies? And it was July. So I was like, well, I garden. I have a garden that I tend to. And so someone threw out greenhouse. So I was perfect, kind of hit both of them in the same vein. So I was like, okay, that works. You know, I hadn't heard many of the other names yet, but, you know, I knew that there were some other ones that were not so good. So yeah, I was happy with the name.
It could have been worse, right? That's for sure. Well, you know, it's so interesting. We have all this public facing stuff, and you never really know, like, you don't really think like, oh, somebody's going to see this on Twitter and think I'll show up for that special event kind of thing. But you guys did. And, you know, it's interesting hearing the story from all your different perspectives. But what do you think about like the workout itself? I mean, was it pretty challenging or?
It was. I mean, you know, it's like throughout it was hard, but not, you know, not just an absolute beat down. But then at the end, I remember just being gassed. And I did the 1776 last week, and I was just the same. I was like, man, that sucks. You know, you kind of forget the all the 76 burpees and under your bear crawl, and like, man, that is just brutal. And with the heat and humidity, it was. I was feeling it for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Well, take us back a little bit, kind of history wise. What's been sort of your physical
Hmm.
activity experience? Yeah, I think you mentioned maybe you played soccer, but talk us through sort of, working out and what's that been like
Yeah.
kind of throughout your life?
Yeah. I've always been very active, pretty fit. I played, Division II soccer in college. I was school in Missouri, now Missouri University of Science and Technology, go Miners.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
but yeah, and I played a little bit, mostly in Kansas City. I kind of quit right at COVID because I strained my quad and then in an indoor, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to get injured again. So I kind of hung up the boots after that. But I've always, done something, try to stay active. I think at the time that summer, and I've done this a few times, I was doing a couple longer bike ride or bike races.
Yeah.
I was doing some gravel riding, and I still do it a little bit. Actually, we're going to ride past your house if you saw my tweet on Fury Road tomorrow. So
Yeah.
come out and wave at us. But
Yeah.
I've rode bikes, mountain biking, road riding, gravel riding, for a while. Love to do it. It's just a harder thing to find time to do sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but that summer, I think I was doing the Gravel World's like 75-mile race. Which 75 miles on gravel is pretty rough. It's very hilly where the route is. So
Hmm.
I was doing a lot of biking that summer. I was probably like a month from that race, so I was training quite a bit. So I was probably in decent shape, but probably more biking and try to do some strength stuff at home, but not a ton. But yeah, so I've always I feel like I go in cycles of if I'm training for something, get in better shape, but generally speaking, I've always been pretty consistent. Both my parents very active. My dad super active. I mean, I really should get my dad out to F3. I think he would like it. I think he has
Yeah.
kind of bad knees now, so the running scares him. But I could probably get him out to a bruiser. And he's 73, and I think he can do more pull-ups than me, maybe. And every year on his birthday, he does consecutive amount of push-ups to his age.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I
This sounds like a perfect
yeah,
fit.
I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Get him
I
out
should
there.
I
Coronado,
should
man.
get him out
It
to
would be
Coronado.
perfect.
You're right. I should invite him out. I should at least get him a name because that would be fun in itself. But he's always been super active too, biking or otherwise. So that's always kind of been our family's been pretty active. So been pretty easy for me to try to keep that up.
Heck yeah. And I'm guessing you went to a different college than T Swift because you were just better at soccer, right? That's
Different
kind of the
positions.
deal there.
I did apply at Hastings, but I think the main and they were good. They were really good. I think they went to the national championship a couple times, but the main drawback was they didn't have engineering, so that kind of pushed me away from old Hastings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could have been a Bronco with those guys.
Right. Yeah. And I gather from T Swift he was a
He was a
goalie,
goalie.
which I don't know if you can. Is that
I
really a soccer
mean,
player? Or I
he
don't
liked
know.
to play in the field a few times, but it never really ended well.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. Well, I'm curious as you started your F3 journey, what was posting like? Did you go, the following Monday, or was it just Saturdays for a while, or
Yeah.
what was your journey there?
Yeah, it was funny. Hey, I think he kind of dove in pretty good. He started going quite a bit. T Swift was a little slower to ramp up, and I was probably slowest. I think part of it initially was doing more of the cycling
Mhm.
for a few of those rides, and then the morning still got me. I for a while it's just if I posted it was a Oracle 7 a.m. Like it took me
Mm.
the longest time to do an Oracle 6 a.m. because I was still just thinking, oh, I don't want to get up that early
On a
on a
Saturday.
Saturday
Yep.
too, and so I mean eventually I don't even remember what other non-Oracle site was my first post, but yeah, it took me a while. I mean, probably into the fall, and I don't really remember. I wish I had the PaxNet and I could have logged my workouts. I don't
Yeah.
I don't remember if I posted throughout that winter or not. I think I probably did, just because like what else you can do? I'm not out biking in the winter and
Mhm.
limited stuff. So, and I wasn't in a gym. I don't think I've ever been in a gym up in Omaha. So I was just kind of done stuff on my own. Um, so that really wasn't like once I was like, well, I'm not going to join a gym, so I might as well
Right, yeah.
get outside and do it. But it took me a while, and then you kind of do a few and get used to it, and then it just opens it up a little bit and start attending a little more. And my wife, probably at that time too, she works out in the morning too and goes to a gym. So we've always kind of alternated, and we stick to that to this day, which is a good thing. Gives me a little bit of a rest too, which sometimes I need to be forced to do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I guess I'm curious too. Did you like Murph? So we've got all these different options, right? Murphs and coupons and running. Definitely want to get your thoughts on the pre-run and maybe why you don't do that. Talk us through. Did you try all those other options, or are you a coupon guy? What's sort of your favorite type of work?
It took me a while to Murph. And I don't think, part of it was like, oh, dang, that looks hard. The pull-ups, just been able to do pull-ups, but, it just still sounds hard, and it is hard. But I think my wife also liked to go to the gym on Mondays. And so for a while, I just didn't post very much on Mondays, which is ironic because Wolf ended up being on Monday. But yeah, I did some Murphs, and I was like, man, that was tough. But yeah, I just didn't go all out on Mondays. And I don't think there were as many Smurfs around, just not as many Smurfs out there. Now there's a lot of Smurfs.
Especially this month.
Especially this month. See, everyone's Smurfing. But yeah, and then coupon workouts. Really, Block Party was kind of the first one out west. We'd have someone would do a coupon workout, and I don't mind those at all. I think they're pretty fun, and some of them can be pretty brutal too. And I've led a few of them as well. But I like a good mixed beat down. I like and that's probably what most of mine are like. There's some running, and gonna try to challenge some people and maybe do some new things. I like those, and throw some music in there, and it's a great beat down.
Yeah. Heck yeah. And that's kind of the beauty of it, right? Is like, we have coupon specific sites where every time you're going to get a coupon workout, but nothing's stopping you from doing a coupon workout, wherever you want to go. I suppose a coupon Murph would be I don't know. We haven't tried that yet. Maybe Farva has tried that.
Oh, and I forgot to mention the pre-runs. Yeah. So I've probably pre-run probably like 5 to 10 times in my F3 career. And again, it's kind of the waking up early. I just have a hard time setting that alarm closer to 4:15 or 4 a.m. I know plenty of guys do it, and I know the value of pre-run, and the fellowship, the mumble chatter and everything. Like I get that and have enjoyed it. I just every time I'm like, I can't set the alarm any earlier than I already am. But I'll probably sneak in a few here or there. I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, man, it'd be nice to challenge myself with a run or something. I don't know if I want to do a half marathon or anything like that again, because the last time I did that, my knee hurt very, very bad for a week, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. That was stupid. So I haven't participated in Halfway House either, for that matter. But I don't know. I was like, maybe I just got some new Hokas. I'm like, maybe that's that's my ticket to pain-free running. I don't know. Right. But T-Swift's always give me crap for not pre-running, and the few times I do show up, he's like, what are you doing here? Like, shut up.
Well, and I know he was telling me that you just were texting the group about running on the beach somewhere, and you were running 7:30 pace or something. So you can run, right? It's not that you can't do it, or that it's
I think I was
super challenging.
There were some homeless people. It was out in LA, so I was just running a little faster, I think. But
that's how I run out here when I'm afraid of mountain lions.
I do, and I enjoy pushing it. And Catalyst has been good too, because I didn't go to Catalyst too much to start with. I was like, it's just running, but I like that I have the option to push it a little harder with some other guys running those faster paces than maybe I wouldn't otherwise. And then that I'm pushing the distance a little more too than I normally do. So that's been good to have Catalyst, and it's right down the street from me too.
Yeah.
So
Well, now we got Fury Road,
Yeah.
right? Which you're queuing
Yep.
Saturday, so that's exciting, right? Kind of get you back into your group. You got any races you're training for now?
No, I haven't done. I didn't sign up for any this year, and we'll see. I've done a few mountain biking races, but I'm not wild about those because I feel like it's just a crash waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But I used to do a few of those. But yeah, I might sign up for. I've done a few more like corporate rides. They're just ride, not people aren't out there racing. So some of those are pretty fun. There might be a few like late season gravel rides that they do a lot over in the less hills in Iowa. So and those are, I mean, man, if you want a challenge, like do a race like that, and it's just hill after hill after hill. It's brutal. But and you got out by your house, there's a couple of good hills out there, and that's where we're going.
Yeah.
That's where we're going for Fury Road. So good thing this airs after the ride, so I won't dissuade anybody. But that hill by Mount Michael and the other big one, those, I grew up riding out there. I mean, my parents, that's what my dad used to take us in a buggy out there and ride up those hills. Like, thanks for the safety.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, they still ride out there. So it's a lot of fun to get back out there, and I'm glad to see Fury Road off and running.
Yeah. Well, I saw the round. I'm going to try, but I think you're turning before my house and then going down to Nelson's maybe.
No, we're going to, I think the turnaround is going to be up by Elk City. So.
Okay. So you're going right up 225th.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to get out of that mailbox and maybe doing some monkey humpers or something.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, where do you think you're at today, fitness wise? You seem like you're in good shape and things are going well.
Yeah, I'd say in good shape. One thing I've kind of run up against probably in the last year or two, a couple times I've just overexerted myself. I've had some quad problems. I remember, I think it was a Griswold beatdown. Whetstone, and we were doing a bunch of circuits. We were doing up that massive hill, and then we were doing like circuits, and one of them was legs, and it had like Bonnie Blairs and jumping and all this stuff. And I found out, I think when I overdo the jumping, like those repetitive motions, and then downhill is bad because it's like stress on your quads. And so like the next day or 2 days later, I couldn't walk at work. It hurt so bad. And then that night I got home and looked at my quads, and they looked like there was an orange or a grapefruit in each one of them. They were just swollen. I was like, That's not right. So I just had to rest for a while after that. And that's happened once or twice since then. So I don't know. I'm kind of in this spot where, I like to push it, but I have to know, when's too much. I kind of took pride forever on like never modifying anything. To realizing, you might have to modify some things here or there. Like, don't do that giant hill. Don't do a bunch of Bonnie Blairs, like stacked all against each other. So trying to listen to my body a little more. Haven't gotten the cold plunge going yet, but I've heard that can do wonders. So, maybe someday, but I feel like I'm in pretty good shape, but I feel like sometimes just those little nagging injuries in the back of my head, keep me from pushing too hard. And that's a struggle for me because I'm always like, well, should I do more? Could do more, be content where you're at, kind of thing. That's always a struggle, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely struggle with that, especially, just as we get older. I will tell you that same hill I think you're talking about at Whetstone, the only time I've ever felt safe going down that thing was I think one time in the winter, and there was a bunch of snow on it, and we were sliding down it head first. Nice. But man, running down a steep hill like that is
it's rough.
I don't know. I tweaked my knee one time doing that, and it was just I was really nervous. It ended up kind of loosening up throughout the workout. But yeah, that hill can be brutal there by the field. Well, I think the other kind of piece in this, I don't know, maybe it's a physical fitness space, but like the queen or like that sort of the diet piece, what have you found in that space that's been helpful, or is that an area that you maybe always just seem like a guy with high metabolism?
I think I do. I think I have good genetics, which helps a lot. Which is kind of funny because my dad's super fit, but like none of his siblings are. it's just kind of the weirdest thing. So I'm like, got lucky there, I think, with good metabolism and all that. But it's always weird. I always have every physical. I always have pretty high A1C, like blood sugar, and
Okay.
everyone's like, "What? That doesn't make sense." I'm like, "I don't know," but I've had that red flag on my screenings a few times. So I'm like, I probably should watch what I eat. Like, of course, it's good to watch your carbs and your sweets and stuff. So it's kind of a good thing that it does, because it's like, hey, of course. Then I went to Dairy Chef last night with the family, and that was amazing, of course. But yeah, I mean, I eat okay. I try to do everything a little bit in moderation, but I don't. I'm fortunate in that I probably don't have to watch what I eat as much as others. But I always, that's the reason I try to stay active too. So, can have that beer or have that sweets. And I think I did inherit a sweet tooth from my mom and her side of the family, because those sweets are always around at any family gathering.
Man, we need to have a second F, like Dairy Chef night out west here, because
it's the best.
I love me some Dairy Chef.
Best.
Ever since we moved out here, man, it's like we go there. Like, it feels like sometimes we're going there once a week, which is way too much. But it's always on the way home.
I know. The best was when it was we used to have something on Mondays, and it's always closed on Mondays. So we're like, oh, sorry, kids, it's closed.
For sure. Well, thinking about kind of the second F piece of fellowship and some of the relationships, I guess I'm a little curious, kind of the backstory. Like, so you, Hey, and T Swift grow up together, right, since preschool, and then you all moved away for college, right? You all went to different colleges and then kind of came back. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. T Swift went to Hastings, Hey down to Lincoln, myself down in Rolla, Missouri, which is like 7 hours away. So it's a good jaunt. But yeah, we always, always see each other with breaks, talk here and there. And, those guys, it was hard to get together. Like, I'd come back to Lincoln when I could, but soccer was always in the fall. And so it was hard to come back for Husker games, but we see each other quite often. T Swift probably wouldn't have told this story in his episode, but they came down to Kansas City one time and stayed with some other friends, but they came down to watch me play soccer at Rockhurst. And Hey was driving T Swift's Dodge Durango at the time, and decided to try his luck surfing on the railing, the guardrail. The car there was a little overcorrection, I think, into the shoulder, and then ended up on the rail, put it on its side. They were fine, thank God. But since then, Hey has not been allowed to drive a vehicle owned by T Swift. So I saw them that weekend at the game. They were having a beer pretty early. We played at like noon on Sunday, and they came out, and I was like, "You guys sound like you've been drinking already." And they told me the story, and I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That's a rough one." But so we'd always get together, and then they actually lived together in a house that Hey owned after college. So obviously they're like brothers battling all the time, and fighting about this or that. And so that was always entertaining, and I'd come back and crash with them here and there too. So a lot of fun. But cool. But yeah, really moving back has helped connect us even more. And then and F3's deep in that relationship for sure too, which has been cool.
Yeah. How so? Like, what do you think? Just more time, I guess, being in closer proximity, or?
Yeah, I mean, the proximity for sure. We've kind of picked up on some of the shield lock, and we have, or as T Swift calls it, the preschool shield lock. He's in another one too, so he's kind of cheating on us, but that's fine.
He did mention that.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what he says about that, but no, that's okay. But he's always been that way. He's been a social butterfly. He's got to be with this group and that group. It's just who he is. Everybody knows that.
Right.
But no, yeah, I think we've kind of picked up on the Concentrica stuff. We did some reading up on that, and we talk a lot, and all of our M's know each other, and we know each other's kids. So it's just it's an easier space to share concerns or headaches or anything else with each other, and you kind of have that safe space to talk about those things. But I think F3 certainly prompted us to go deeper. We already had a deep relationship to begin with, but I sure, because we're having those conversations with other guys, too. So all that has helped us, be able to have those deeper conversations with one another, and during the good times and the bad times also.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to me because it feels like, at least in my experience, right? You have these friends in grade school, high school, you move away, and even like some of my friends that still live in Omaha, right? Like that you just kind of lose touch, and but for you guys to be able to come back together, and now life's changed a lot, right? You're married, you have kids, and you're able to still stay connected. That's a pretty cool deal. And I guess from sort of outsider looking in, right? When I see, you can kind of tell guys that have a really good shield lock because they're getting regular feedback and accountability, and so then there's a little bit more confidence, right? Because you have this great support system, which is it's cool. And I can tell you, T Swift, he seems to appreciate you guys quite a bit. I think, but he might be the guy that's always complaining in the group text, and you guys have to talk him down. I don't know. But,
no, we all take our turns. Yeah, we all take our turns.
That's good. What are your thoughts on, I guess in terms of like building relationships with other guys in the group? What's been your experience there?
Yeah, that's been good. Like, us three were all social guys, so like none of us necessarily had a problem, like we weren't like, okay, here's our little shield lock, we're gonna, stick to this. As I said, T Swift's super social, and hey is too, and myself as well, just less so than T Swift. But and we kind of figured out other guys we knew, or, around town that were already doing F3, or just, meeting other guys. And so that was always good. And there were guys in my neighborhood, turns out, like Truly and Schnitzel and Slapshot. And, then we've tried to get a few other guys out too. So that's helped, build that network. I mean, my wife always gives me hell about being a connector with people. And that's my dad, like, to a T. So that's fun. That's like, it's one of the benefits I think of being an F3 is like, you have this great group and network of guys. Sometimes, my daughter rolls her eyes if I ever see a guy from F3, like before, I feel like I'll say hi to the guy and she goes, let me guess, F3. And, 9 times out of 10 it is. And the one time I'm like, nope, it wasn't F3 this time. But, with me just doing Oracle, I did get to cafeteria here and there too, which is helpful, obviously, for talking with guys afterwards. Like to go to Karma after those if I could. I always had a little bit of that guilt, when you're hanging out till 8:39 and I'm like, okay, I should probably get home. There's always a balance of that because I still love cafeteria, and have enjoyed that. Especially, we did it on site at Wolf Den, which was a blast. Kind of makes it easier for guys to hang out. But that aspect was great, and probably tried to get out to some of the second F stuff. Happy hours here and there, and some of the other events. That I'm glad that there's a lot of them because you can't make them all.
Yeah,
for sure. But when they're pretty frequent, it makes it easier to, catch one here or there, which I always appreciated.
For sure. Are you or someone you know in the market to buy a new home? Well, if so, check out Major Team Mortgage. They specialize in home purchase and refinance home loans. Their mission is to purposely empower people to experience their good life through building wealth with real estate. Showing up in the gloom is no different than showing up for a conversation around your future of building wealth with real estate. Join the action economy and get in the game with Sasquatch. Text or call John at 402-212-0149 to schedule a time today. Individual NMLS number 1393750. Company NMLS number 2478164. Equal housing lender. Well, and tell me a little bit, because you mentioned Concentrica, and, was QSource something that you had a chance to go to and experience? Or
yeah, I think, I've been to Paradise only a couple times. That might have been the first time, but then they opened up Whetstone after I started. So I was pretty excited for that. And so I've gone quite a bit. I haven't gone to Whetstone as much since the Wolf Den because usually I take Tuesday off after doing Monday.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to getting back into Whetstone because I always enjoy those conversations. T-Ball was the site Q there for a while, and really enjoyed a lot of those sessions. I led once or twice at Whetstone there at QSource. I think I led after Combine as well one time, and I love that. I love diving into a topic and trying to draw something out of guys too. And and the book itself is great to read through on its own, but nice to go back, when you're leading one and look at the highlights, or if you took any notes and get through that. Yeah, so it's definitely something I appreciate about QSource and F3 in general.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I want to get your thoughts on just the value of getting a group of guys, opening up a discussion around a topic, and maybe how that builds relationships. Because you did something similar, right, with the Monday morning wood, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep, Monday morning wood.
How does that work from your perspective? Like when you kind of have those topic-based discussions?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because sometimes it feels a little bit like pulling teeth to get things started. I've done some TNT Truth Nugget Thursdays out at the berm, which I kind of probably picked up the idea from a little bit. So credit there, but it's good. It's just gets you on it gets something else out of guys that you wouldn't hear otherwise, because if we're at coffee, generally we're going to be, talking about sports, talking about the beatdown, talking about the week, talking about work, which is all good, and I enjoy those conversations. But when you're going to get deeper on the other ones, and you're going to get something out of a guy that you wouldn't otherwise. So that's what I think some of the most value is. So when we moved coffee inside for the winter at Wolf Den, I was like, we should do something. We've got generally probably 10 guys or less that go to coffee at Wolf Den, at least in the winter too. We'd probably have more on site, but in the winter that's probably about the average. And so I was like, this is a pretty good number to have a smaller group conversation. So I can't remember why I picked Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, but there's it was could be a paragraph, could be a sentence, just something to chew on and discuss. So that was kind of my challenge, was to whoever's queuing, find and just send them a link to all the quotes from Meditations and see if one rang true with them or that they want to discuss, and just let it start the conversation and let it go from there. And I really enjoyed that. I hope others did too. And I don't know if they'll carry that on this winter, or if they'll look to do something else. But I got a lot of value out of it myself.
For sure. Well, and I did too. I think, to your point, you make the barrier to entry really low, right? It's like just a quote or like a small paragraph, and then that hopefully sparks something in the group, and you kind of get talking. And I think it's so cool because you create this opportunity to just hear a little bit deeper what's on a guy's heart or on a guy's mind, or how are they processing their world. And I think we did talk with, and we can maybe get into this when we talk about leadership and being a PsyQ, but I did talk with Vespa and Cradle and sort of asked them, hey, you guys gonna continue doing that? And I think they're really trying to, one up you and T Swift. So I think they're like, well, yeah, maybe we can even do it when we're doing coffee outside, so that, I don't know. We'll see what they do. Yep. Free to lead. Right. They might pick a different book or whatever, but the other kind of area, in the second half, like relationships, and you mentioned Concentrica, but curious if you've noticed, just being an F3, maybe being around the guys, has that had an impact on your wife and your 2.0s, anything in that space that you've noticed?
Yeah, I think so. And I've kind of given our morning workout routine. I don't, I feel like we're pretty balanced. I would probably go 5-6 days a week if I could most of the time. And so it's kind of good that I have that balance, and it naturally lends itself. So I don't think, F3 has been seen as a negative, to my M, as long as I do it in moderation. I think a few holiday breaks, I think I put in some shifts, but she's like, I'm not going to the gym early. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'll go. But no, I think she she likes to razz me about some things, which I'm sure other M's do. But I think she probably sees the value in it, and knows, and she knows T Swift and Hey Hey well, and knows that they're all in on it too. And I think she probably appreciates the faith aspect of it. And we moved churches last November too, and I think it's just maybe whether she sees it or not, there's probably a greater confidence in, I wouldn't say in my like faith understanding necessarily, but praying and COTs and all that, just the sharing aspect. Hopefully she sees that. Hopefully my kids see that too. I think that's been one thing. I've gotten them out to some 2.0 workouts, and they love it. Took me a little while to get my son out there, and my daughter's pretty outgoing, pretty athletic, and so it's probably a little easier to jump in. And my son maybe a little less so, a little more shy. So I think the first or second 2.0, he kind of just stood off to the side. I just couldn't get him in to do anything, which it's a little intimidating for a little guy. So and I think that's a battle too, of trying to expect too much from your kids. And it's good to have the reminders from guys. They're going through stuff, T Swift and Hey for one, but just all the packs who going through the same thing. It's like, sometimes you just gotta let them do it when they want to do it, and I think that's hard for a lot of us, myself very much included. Like, it's a constant battle of, it's like, I want them to do this, or I want them to do that, or why doesn't my kid do this, or why won't she do that? And, so it's kind of like, it's an ego check for sure. So I always appreciate that about F3, because, you guys got guys out there competing, but you got a lot of guys sharing or humbling themselves, and so it gives a good example.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? You start talking about like parenting, and ultimately, like, we're all, not everybody is married or has kids, but for us that are in that situation, right? It's like we could talk for days or hours about just those relationships and how, just the ups and downs, right? It's like every day is different. And I found so helpful just to hear another guy say, yeah, me too. That's hard for me too. Right. Not even to necessarily have an answer, but what remind me again, so your age of your 2.0s, and then what did they get for nicknames?
So my daughter just turned 9. Her name is Reese, and so her name is Reese's Pieces. Which I don't know how many people have their name in their name, but it's it worked. Yeah. And then I think my son is Rooster, which is his favorite stuffed animal is Rooster. It's a little dog. So I don't know if that was my daughter that came up with that, but I thought Rooster was a pretty good one too.
Nice. How old's your son?
My son is 6, so he's just going into first grade this year.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. My oldest, I forget her nickname because she came out in the early years, and then she finally said, "Dad, I'm only going for you, and I don't really like it." And I was just like, you know what? It's actually, it's fine with me if you don't go, because
it takes some effort.
I'm just carrying you on my back the whole time.
Yeah.
So anyway, curious, as you think about, kind of this like this journey, right? You got, fitness fellowship, faith, and a lot of times kind of that the faith, and it's all intertwined, but that faith piece is kind of woven throughout. And curious if there's anything for you, like any challenges or things in life that maybe you found yourself really having to kind of dig in and overcome. Anything you'd maybe be vulnerable, willing to share with guys?
Yeah. And I've really appreciated the third F aspect of F3, and whether it's kind of tied directly into my religious part of my life, and we as I mentioned, we moved churches, so we attend a Lutheran church here in town, moved churches once, and I grew up Catholic, so faith was always going to church almost every Sunday, maybe with exceptions of on vacation or whatever. And the times when you're on vacation, your parents find a church, you're like, oh man, come on, let's just take a break here. But
Yeah,
they were good
yeah,
about getting us to church. So, kudos to them. But yeah, so we've found another church here in town that we've really been enjoying. So I think that's been good. And I've definitely enjoyed having, faith be part of my life. And it's so, I wouldn't say, we've gone through struggles with, family things, some stuff on my wife's side, with parents and relationships. And um, I think for me, having faith there is such a good thing for when I don't know what to say. Being able to, look at a Bible verse and I don't proclaim to be the strongest in that category. I know a lot of PACs or people I know are just so much stronger in their, biblical teach, like, hey, I mean, the dude's read the Bible twice, and him and T Swift kind of got me on Bible in a Year podcast, and so I did that for a full year. It took me like a year and a half, so Bible in a year ish. But enjoyed going through that and kind of enjoyed the challenge and the prodding from those guys. But just having, the ability, and it kind of just goes with Third F in general. It's like, hey, this is bigger than you, or it's bigger than you or me. So when, it's me, or when it's, my M, or when we're struggling with something with our kids, it's like, well, have we prayed about it? Because usually that's should be default, should be like first reaction. Unfortunately, it's probably not most of the time. Or have we given this up to God, or have we, just taken into account that this is bigger than us, and so I think having faith in that respect has been good, like, for those times, and then just, for the good times too, and being able to acknowledge the role that, faith plays in the good that is in our lives as well. Also hard to do. I did a gratitude journal for the last, well, I guess maybe I haven't done a year yet, but I'm most of the way through a year. And that's been been good. I've been pretty good about that. Not always good about creating new habits and sticking to them, but I've been pretty good about that one, and have enjoyed it. Sometimes it feels like homework, even though it takes like a minute to do. But yeah, I'd recommend doing that if anyone's ever considered that. And I try to use it as a prompt for prayers too. So, if I remember someone that we need to pray for from that morning, try to dig that up. So I'm not just thinking about it at the workout or at the beat down. I'm trying to do it, at the end of the night or in the morning or whatever too. So, it's just kind of that rock, or that crutch to lean on, in good and bad. And, I think that's partly what faith is supposed to be.
Yeah, I love it. So you do gratitude journal morning, night? What's your routine there?
I got a different book this time just to see what else is out there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of night only. And I was like, well, I kind of like the both morning and night. So I feel like I might have to go back to the other book for the next round, but I was just checking it out.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And, it is interesting, the power of prayer. I typically I'm like, I want to try everything that I think I can control on my own, and then I'll pray when none of that works. And I'm trying to do, like you said, trying to just make that the default. I don't know why that's so hard, but maybe it's just in our nature. Curious, as you're thinking about your journey, I think we get this really cool opportunity to interact with guys that are just maybe searching. And I think that's what I love about F3 is we're not forcing anything on people. But any thoughts for a guy that, maybe doesn't have a set thing that they're believing in, but any thoughts for how to best go about searching?
Yeah. And one thing I always, when I've gotten into conversations too, and I don't have it all figured out. I wrestle with doubt and questions all the time. And fortunately the Bible addresses that a bit, and so that's a little comforting to me, because doubt's a hard thing. Doubt in any aspect of your life is hard to deal with. And with with a thing as big as faith, it can be even more, discomforting. So sometimes it's just being okay with it, and being okay with not knowing the answers.
Mm.
And so I always, I'd love to discuss any of that, whether you have a faith background or not, or not spiritual at all. I love having those conversations with guys that we can kind of explore that together. And I like that F3 kind of provides that space to do so. And that
Yeah.
guys are, willing to say, because it's not easy. There's a lot of, um, faith-based folks in our group, and that's a great thing, but there's probably quite a few that aren't. And so that can probably be intimidating. I'd struggle to speak up and be like, well, I don't believe, and this is why.
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to come out and say, especially depending on your personality type. But so kudos to the guys that have, that takes courage. And so, yeah, just keep those conversations going. Ted
For sure.
Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
That goes as a two-way street.
For sure. I love it. And I think, it's like use that doubt as a catalyst for developing faith,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, I think that's where you got to ask questions
absolutely.
and try to find the answers for sure. What about kind of the second arm of our third F, right? Is like community service almost, or community involvement.
Yeah.
Anything in that space? You had a chance to do any third F events? Or
we have. I brought my M out to a few things, and the 2.0s as well. We've done a few things, and with our new church, I think we've had some better opportunities to serve, which maybe we weren't getting as much at our previous church. So that's been good to kind of be prompted. One of the things our church said is, the pastor always likes to say, we're not a sideline church. Like, if you're part of this church, you're going to be involved. And I feel like, we don't force people to do that in F3 either, but it's just kind of the culture is like, you're going to be involved. Like, not everybody can do second F and third F stuff all the time, but we're going to make a space for everybody to contribute. And maybe you're just going to contribute in other ways, because there's so many ways to contribute to this group. So yeah, we've definitely done some F3 events, second F and third F events. And I think, again, just having the option to do a lot of them is great. And so I keep, thanking the PACs that put those on. I know it's like pulling teeth sometimes. I know Vandalay was trying to get a lot of guys for a third F event. And so kudos to him and guys like that are, routinely putting on, or putting forth the effort to make that happen. Cause I appreciate it. Whether I can make them all or not, because, with kids and stuff and activities, they're so busy. So there's always like a little guilt of like, I should go do more. But, we've been trying to really, especially with our kids, get them out, maybe not monthly, but, every other month, do something, get them out in the community, let them see things that they don't see out in our bubble. Also, and understand, so next time they gripe about the iPad or gripe about the food or something, it's like, you know what, you saw those kids get a bed, for the first time, and you saw how happy they were, just as an example like that. So I think we're doing great work, and I appreciate guys, putting forth the effort to help make it happen.
Heck yeah. Yeah. I found myself almost, I think my 8-year-old, like to your point about griping about the iPad, I found myself almost threatening, like, don't make me take you down to the open door mission and show you, and I need to be better about that. So thanks for the encouragement there. What's the secret? How do you get your kids?
I mean, sometimes I'm like, hey, we're going to go get donuts on the way, or, or we'll get ice cream afterwards. Or sometimes it's like, get in the damn car, we're going.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's awesome. What, when we think about kind of the other piece, right, the leadership piece, and part of that's our mission, right, trying to invigorate or reinvigorate male community leadership. We try to do that, with the VQ or even with Site Q, right, giving you a chance to lead. What do you remember from those sort of things? You remember your VQ?
Yeah, VQ is no surprise, Oracle 7 a.m. So it was a smaller group, probably 10, 12 guys. But yeah, you probably overanalyze everything, slept like crap the night before. probably had a little too much content in the exercise or in the beatdown itself. But yeah, I think it was pretty challenging. I actually brought a neighbor out to that one. He didn't come back, so I don't know if that was. He's a CrossFit guy, so I couldn't get him back out. But
what'd you name him? Maybe it was an issue with
I
his
think
name.
his name was Gandalf, and I feel like that was pretty good. So yeah, there's worse. But yeah, no, I think it was pretty good. And again, there's probably something I screwed up. Couldn't remember. I mean, I don't think I tried to memorize everything in the opening, but there's always something you screw up, and even still to this day, there's something you screw up.
Oh yeah,
do the numbers wrong or do something. So it's good to have that humility in your leadership. And I've always taken pride and thought of myself as a good leader, but always acknowledging that I have so much room to grow as a leader, and there are certain aspects where I'm falling short, and that you keep working on. And like the QSource discussion earlier, there's things that you just talk through, and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing so good in this area after you read through it, and kind of talk it out with other guys, or you see things in other leaders as well. I think T-Swift, I think exhortation is the word, and I don't even know if that might be a chapter in QSource. I don't know. Is it? Okay.
It's a key point.
Okay.
For sure.
Exhortation. I'm like, T-Swift does that very well. He'll just go yell at the random guy jogging down the path and be like, "Come join us," and I'm like, "Oh gosh, shut up." But I'm always a little jealous of his ability to pull people in, and being comfortable doing that. Sometimes the fear of rejection for me or discomfort or being uncomfortable is probably too strong, that it outweighs the what should be good. Like, we want to bring more people into F3, and so sometimes that's an area that I struggle with, probably, or fear of failure or shame or what have you. All things that QSource addresses too. So it's something you gotta practice. Those are all skills. So I think that's a good thing of F3 too, and you see the guys out there doing it well. And so there's just a lot of opportunities to lead by example and learn by example in F3, because we rotate and we give guys opportunities to lead all the time. Other aspects of our life are probably much more stagnant than that. Whether it's our church or it's our work or it's you got the same leader for years. You don't see the leadership of others. So I think that's something that's pretty unique about F3 that I appreciate.
I love it. That's a great perspective. Just the rotating leadership, right? And it's like every workout, but also we kind of have this unofficial timeline of being a PsyQ at about a year, and that doesn't happen, and at least in the corporate world
not
that
too
I'm
often.
in. But what talk us through launching the Wolf Den and kind of what that was like, and then I would love to hear any advice that you might have for other guys leading a site.
Yeah, so I think after Elkhorn North opened up, and T-Swift is the girls' soccer coach there, as he probably mentioned, but and that's like kind of a central point almost between our houses. So we did a few pop-up beatdowns. I remember the occasion, but we did a few beatdowns there, or maybe when we couldn't get another one in somewhere else. So I'm sure somebody probably mentioned it to T-Swift at some time, and between all of our way too many texts during the course of a day, brought it up like, oh man, we should do a site at Elkhorn North. That'd be perfect. It's right by our house. T-Swift coaches there, and so then that kind of started the ball rolling and got those discussions happening. And Hey was already the site Q at the Oracle. So he was out. So that left me as co-site Q and with T-Swift. And again, like his willingness to include and exhort, I probably would have been fine if T-Swift said, I'll do it. I probably wouldn't have said it. Really, like, congrats, it's like, you're gonna do great. But he's like, no, this is you and me, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. I'm along for the ride, which that's kind of, that's not the first time that's happened in our friendship over the years.
Sure.
He's gotten me into some things, and I was along for the ride, but I've probably done the same for him too. But it was good to have that, like, no, we're gonna do this, let's get it going. We got the day figured out, and we few things to, I would say T Swift's thing to make it his own or our own is he always yells out hugs, and he's always the person holding up the line after COT, because he's always hugging everybody and sometimes kissing. That's another story.
Yeah,
but
I've seen both. Yeah.
But no, it's been good, and for both of us to be able to lead that together has been a lot of fun. Been fun to share it with him too, and kind of complement our different leadership styles for the site, and try to bring a good energy, and if one of us forgets something, the other one can help pick up the slack. And I traveled a lot, he gave me a lot of hell over the course of the year. I probably missed like 10 mornings because either me traveling for work or my wife traveling for work or gone for vacation. So that was nice too, just because he was generally always there. So I didn't probably thank him enough, but now it's out there in the internet. So there it is.
Well, I think it's so cool. The CoQ is really in the last couple of years kind of become a thing, and it really does provide a lot of support, but also you get these different flavors, right? And just your schedules. Like I don't know that you guys would have done Morning Wood, right? Those discussions, because that was sort of your idea, and then I think his schedule, right, having to be at school probably didn't afford him the ability to do that. So curious too, as you think about like passing the flag, how'd you guys land on Vespa and Cradle?
We talked about it for a while, and we texted some names, and you got kind of like your regulars over the course, and there's so many great candidates, and it's just like because you picked this guy or that guy over the other, that there's so many other great leaders who would have been willing to step up, which is great. It's awesome to see. I know we could have asked 5 or 10 other guys easily, and they would have been, pumped to do it. And that they might be next, which is also awesome. But yeah, Vespa, he lives right in the neighborhood next to mine, and he's been coming a while. I think T Swift called him old as shit or something in his the flag pass. I didn't say that, but I thought we definitely have some older packs leading sites, and both of us saw Vespa as a guy that he had that almost kind of like fatherly leadership. His kids are a little older than ours. He's been through some stuff in that regard, and he's been good about sharing his gripes and headaches and frustrations with kids too. Which actually, one thing I just found out this summer, I don't know how I missed this, but his daughter is one of the swim team coaches for my daughter's swim team.
That's funny.
So we just figured that out. So it was awesome. We just saw him as a strong leader. When you think of Vespa, you think of someone who's strongly convicted. You can tell he's a strong leader. Runs a company. You contractor. You could tell when he means business, and when he's ready to share a laugh. And we thought he would be a great leader for the Wolf Den. So Vespa jumped up there quick as someone we wanted. And we kind of, and it actually with Cradle, it was kind of funny because, he was one that we were talking about too. As I think I said at the flag pass, he's more on the quiet side of leadership, but always a positive energy, always a smile. I don't think I've heard the guy complain, maybe as a joke, but like he's never complaining, maybe, talking gripes, about kids and stuff too, but always a great attitude. In a positive energy, which we thought that would, suit it well. And so we had talked about him and also as a leader, and as it happened, Vespa, we kind of said, we'll leave it up to you if you want to bring another guy. And he brought in Cradle. He texted us like a couple weeks before the flag pass. He's like, Cradle's in. We're like, awesome, like that's great.
Nice.
Cradle's right there
That's
in the
cool.
neighborhood too. So like both local guys, and just like us, they'll bring different leadership qualities. And so we were super pumped to have both of them.
That's cool. I love it. And they're pretty pumped. They're already, I
Yeah.
think Vespa's grinding his own coffee beans. He's got synthetic
I
leather
know.
koozies for guys that can't.
I know.
work
I'm gonna have
out.
to get on the schedule now because I got to get myself a koozie.
Right. Well, it's so cool. And it's like we just had the shovel pass at Combine
Yeah.
this morning, and so they've got now 5 years of site queues, and you just think about this legacy, right, that you guys started, the number of F&Gs, the number of guys that have posted there, the stories that
Yep.
have been told, and
It's
it
fun.
just it'll be cool as the
Yeah.
years go on for you guys to be a part of that. But one of the things we like to get from guys is just where are you at now? Where do you need prayers for? Where do you need encouragement? If we see it out there, should we be asking you about anything or checking in with you on anything?
Yeah, I won't get into too much detail. I mean, I've shared a little bit at some of the COTs, but we've had some family struggles recently. My M's had some throughout her life, and and I've had some pop up more recently, and so it's life. It's hard. Sometimes you don't have answers. So having guys check in on things in life is much appreciated, because might be me today and you or someone else tomorrow. And so that's so what you always got to keep that perspective. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to have those conversations and share stuff that probably 5 years ago I wasn't sharing, like I am now. So yeah, just checking in on those things and stuff I think is great. And then also, just gratitude, having those reminders that life is good. Kids are good and them, and be grateful and be thankful for what you have, and be content for all the blessings you have. So I think those are a few things.
Heck yeah, man. Awesome. Well, and I love it. And I think you kind of mentioned this earlier, but would just encourage guys to get next to you, talk to you, pick your brain about things. I think you've always been open, and we've had some great conversations out there. So I appreciate you just sharing your story and your leadership. And I'm excited to see what's next, where we can get you plugged in on the West Sector, kind of leadership team.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you're going to go on your paid sabbatical now, and then you'll kind of come back and we get you
Sounds good
in the loop. But we'll do a little
All right.
name-rama here to wrap this up. I'll start us off. Brandon Flehardy, 38, The
The
Plague.
And Will Kirby, 39, Greenhouse.
And we need a call sign, man.
T-Swift
one?
does throw one out. I've heard it catch on a few times, but he always says "save the trees," which I think is pretty good.
Save the
trees.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Save the trees. Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Well, appreciate your time.
Yeah,
today,
thanks,
man.
Plague. It was
Thanks so
fun.
much.